I recall when I fired my teachers, I was a sophomore. Yep, you heard that right. I fired my teachers because I realized at some point that, for one, everything I was being taught was far behind the functional, practical thing that I was doing outside of those boxes called classrooms and an institutional building. Two, I realized that most of these professors, teachers at that particular university, I can't speak for anywhere else, but I realized most of them really don't care for the interest of the horde of young minds that come in out of that classroom and go out day in, day out. And I looked at my future and related to what's going on around me, and I realized it's about time I stop allowing others to set the path that I'm going to take. So I fired my teachers in university. Most people will say they dropped out of university or dropped out of college. I didn't drop out of anything. I fired my teachers because they are there to teach me something to make my life better functionally. In the past, once upon a time, there was the agricultural era. Then the agricultural era evolved to the industrial era, whereby machines are being used to do the labor and job that serfs used to do on behalf of lords, counts, dukes, things like that, the sovereigns of the land, so to say. Now, it became the industrial age where iron and machines are used. But today's world have transitioned from the industrial age to the age of technology. And when I was in university, I'm seeing these basics, whereby certain mental attributes to be recruited within each era are unique in order for you to merely not exist in survival mode. And I saw that these teachers standing there were still teaching me as though I was in the agricultural era, whereby I was being prepared and groomed to become a serf for someone else. I saw that the totality of the benefit for me was close to nothing, so I fired my teachers. Dropping out is based on the expectation that you did something wrong. Firing your teachers, simply you realizing your future is better than what they're setting you up for. In today's world, when you look at most schools, whether it be on a university level, undergraduate or postgraduate, or you look at high school or middle school, you usually see consistent factors when it comes to certain principles that are lost, or the deliberate guidance of the horde of people into a path that's somewhere in the wilderness, far away from what benefits them. And instead of me saying these particular things, I would allow someone who was once a member of the United States government and also an ex-agent of Russian government who swayed to the side of the Americans. His name is Yuri Bezmenov. He explains these basic principles that stripped away from people using the basic institutions, one of them being educational, quote unquote, educational institutions. As you listen to this man talk, by the way, this was a conference that was held, not sure which exact year, but it was a while back, that CEOs of corporations and secretaries of state and their representatives attended this. And wealthy people also attended this conference. And he was basically breaking down how nations are basically turned into nothingness. That everything you see in movie is just delusional. That method is called subversion. And subversion attacks three things. Listen to him. The credit of this particular video goes to a YouTube page called GBPPR2. So you can go to that page and give them the appropriate credit they deserve. But this particular conference, you can always find in many other platforms. So first, to begin with, what is subversion?
Subversion is the term, if you look in a dictionary or criminal code to that matter, usually is explained as a part of activity to destroy things like religion, government, system, political, economical system of a country.
That's the kind way of saying it. In other words, of a country is the main point. What makes up the country? You, the everyday man, the masses. You are the core, the backbone, the meat, the bread and butter, the sugar, the honey, the sweet pie of any given country. And the way that any so-called government can be broken is if you, the everyday man, buy into it. And if you pay attention, he speaks about certain principles. He explains it further in details as follows, as to how your mind is milked.
In each country, which are going to opposite direction from the basic moral values and principles. To take advantage of these movements, to capitalize on them, is the main purpose of the originator of subversion. So we have religion, we have education, we have social life, we have power structure, we have labor relations.
Religion, education, your social life, those three things are very important. The political and the labor portion, let's just put that to the side for a moment. But religion, education, and your social life. Meaning, it is well comprehended that humans are first spiritual beings, aka religion, before they are anything else. Secondly, after humans are initially at their core spiritual beings, then comes the fact that humans are social creatures. That's the reason why even if you don't care about something and you walk into a room around people you don't care about, you still somehow wonder what's going on in that environment. You still somehow wonder how people judge you or think of you. Even if you don't care, deep down somewhere, you still wonder. That's because humans are social beings. That's part of the mirror neurons in the human mind that allows us to comprehend what's going on in our environment. That's the social relations. Then the third thing is development in the human mind. Everything we do, humans are designed to change and grow and adapt. Some call this evolution. Call it whatever you want. There goes education. Education is one of the ways we grow, adapt, and evolve. Subversion attacks those three core of what humans are: the spiritual nature of you, your social element, and your ability to grow and adapt, aka religion, education, and your social life.
Which are going to opposite direction from the basic moral values and principles. To take advantage of these movements, to capitalize on them, is the main purpose of the originator of subversion. So we have religion, we have education, we have social life, we have power structure, we have labor relations, unions, and finally we have law and order. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay? These are the areas of application of subversion. What it means exactly? In case of religion, destroy it, ridicule it, replace it with various sects, cults, which bring people's attention, faith, whether it is naive, primitive, doesn't really matter. As long as the basically accepted religious dogma is being slowly eroded and taken away from the supreme purpose of religion, to keep people in touch with this.
Did you hear that? It is a necessity for your touch with a supreme being to be kept away from you. This is where you will get all the BS people going about not liking each other just because someone else accepts a different theological text or speaks a different language. Dumb, stupid shit like that. A lot of people got a long time ago because most people cannot uniformly come together and accept, you know what? There's something bigger than all of us. And that is what's important. They get people fighting amongst one another. And as humans, considering that we're spiritual beings, and spirituality in some ways relates to religion, even though it's not directly religion, it relates to it nonetheless. or at least people substitute it or attempt to get to it with religion. Because religion relates to spirituality in some ways, we don't even these days have to directly fight one another when it comes to religion. You can think about it and there's a dispute in the other party's mind. It would affect the way you subtly demonstrate, talk, act, and feel around the other party that you think accepts a different theological text than you do. That is part of subversion. You learned that from somewhere. That's not innately part of who you are. Someone at some point indirectly hypnotized you to perceive the world as such. And that's one of the three ways we will entertain here as to how a country, a people, a nation is broken.
Being slowly eroded and taken away from the supreme purpose of religion, to keep people in touch with the supreme being. That serves the purpose. Therefore, replace it, accepted, respected religious organizations with fake organizations. Distract people's attention from the real faith and attract them to various different faiths. Education. Distract them from learning something which is constructive, pragmatic, efficient. Instead of mathematics, physics, foreign languages, chemistry, teach them history of urban warfare, home economy, your sexuality, anything, as long as it takes you away. Okay? Social life. Replace traditionally established institutions and organizations with fake organizations. Take away the initiative from people. Take away the responsibility from naturally established links between individuals, group of individuals, and society at large, and replace them with artificially, bureaucratically controlled bodies. Instead of social life and friendship between neighbors, establish social workers institutions. People who are on payroll of whom? Society? No.
Simply said, those of you dealing with child support, he just broke it down for you right there. Simply said, those of you who are apprehensive about your children going to school and being taught about some BS that you intrinsically know is wrong, he just broke it down to you right there. That is how you break a nation. Attack the core of the link they use to attach themselves to spirituality. Attack their sense of identity through how they connect with other humans. Actually, their sense of identity. Then we have that going on these days. People confused about the basic law of gender. That's 2. And 3, screw the first 2 up by presenting a front of educating them by creating institutions. And on top of that, create hierarchies that further separates the everyday man and everyday woman. That is how a nation is broken. It used to be that having difference in opinion does not change the fact that 2 people can still get along. These days, merely having a different opinion, many people are so fragile in the mind, not because they naturally are, but they've been conditioned to respond as such under the pretense that it means strength. Ultimately, they divide one another just because of terms they use, just because of how they feel, and just because, well, I've been told if someone says or do something differently than me, I must lash out at them. I must be upset at them. Slowly but surely, when the people cease to be able to come together, irrespective of different opinions, the people and the power of the people is as good as not existing at all.